only had 2 starts in the race. His best finish, in fact, was 17th when he ran a Porsche 968 here several years back when they had a combined production car and Group A touring car race. So 17th to 3rd, quite a boost for the youngster. 12th in this year's Australian Touring Car Championship. I know for Gary and his sponsors, Valvoline and Cummins, this will be a great day if he can bring it home on the podium.
Well, it's quite funny that he's sitting in 3rd position because this is his 3rd appearance at the 500 at Sandown. Mark, when he got that result back in '94, he drove with his team manager, his team owner, Gary Rogers. Of course, he drove with his father, Jim, last year. Things didn't go to plan. We're on lap 133. We were telling you before, it's scheduled to run 161, but we won't reach that. We are over time by several minutes, so the race is due to stop at 4:45 p.m.
Should run about 157, 158 laps, according to our race statistician Nigel Greenway, who's watching this very, very closely as these laps unfold. But the weather is getting worse and worse and worse. We may even have less laps than that by the time 4:45 rolls around.
Shades here of Symonds Plains, Tasmania, earlier this year in the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship. Alan Jones, who currently sits 4th in the Komatsu Pertec Falcon. He'll be happy with his progress today. Coming up on the Castrol Cougars car, they're just getting waved on through.
We could have for the first time a safety car in this race if this weather continues to close down and cars start aquaplaning all over the road. It's the time when they bring it out to monitor that pretty closely. Windscreens O'Brien, driver profile of Alan Jones in the Komatsu Ford, a real charger, Formula 1 world champ in 1980, British Formula 3 champ in 1972, on the way up to Formula 1 Can-Am champ in the United States in 78, and of course Australian Sports Sedan champ in that fabulous Porsche he drove against Peter Brock. Tremendous battles back in 1982 when Jonesy returned to his native country, and he's been one of the leading lights in touring car racing since that day. But here, he really wants a good result, currently running in 4th position.
He's finished 2nd 2 times in the Sandown 500. We'll wait and see how he goes in the Tickford. Here is a replay. Bargwanna spinning the Holden Young Lions entry. Pictures courtesy of the HSV in-car camera. Round and round he goes. You can see where it is quite easily up the top of the circuit at XR8 corner. So, an anxious moment for Jason Bargwanna in the Holden Young Lions entry.
Well, the bad news for the boys still surviving out there on the track. The weather report, the latest update we've got is showers continuing. The current temperature out there is just 14 degrees. Wind north-northeast 15 knots. That's having a great effect on drying the circuit out. The forecast showers right through to this evening. So it looks like we're going to have a very, very wet finish to the Tickford 500.
Onboard pictures, HSV in-car camera, the Holden in-car camera. Well, Jason Bargwanna, hard at work.
Apologise for the breakup on those pictures, but when the weather comes down like this, it has some bad effect on our radio links. So we apologise for that, but we can't do anything about the weather, unfortunately.
No, the weather's proven to make this race very, very interesting. Look at the concentration on this young guy's face. He was just delighted.
Whoa.
He's gone again.
Oh, he's going to hit the fence too, is he? Ah, bang.
You were on board with Jason Bargwanna when it happened, the number 97 Holden Young Lions car.
Not impressed, I would say. Jason Bargwanna, boy, oh boy, from hero to zero. Put the car 5th in qualifying, impressed the hell out of everyone. It's just really come unglued in this race as this weather conditions continue to close in and cause more and more drama. There you are on our Holden in-car camera.
Right? Yeah, sort you in over there, okay? Right. Jack was pretty prepared.
Marshall's giving him advice on what to do. Let's have a look at that on the replay. HSV replay, ironically enough. Coming under brakes, and you could just see on the in-car he was all crossed up. And then he was in all sorts of trouble. Brakes locked up. He's a passenger from here. And you just have your fingers crossed you're going to stay away from that fence, but no such luck. Crunch. About there. And into the gravel.
Mark, he may have been a little bit lucky there to actually come onto the sand, onto the gravel trap before he hit the arm cut, because he was going very fast on the grass. The Shell Helix race score, it looks like this. It's Murphy who still leads the way from Larry Perkins. Stephen Richards doing a great job in 3rd ahead of Alan Jones. And Stephen Ellery should be back in that Wins Commodore. We go back 6 through 10. Bargwanna is no longer in 6th. Faulkner, Gardner should be in the Coke car. Then we go to Johnson and Longhurst. More on 10 Sport after this.
joining the Tickford 500 at Sandown. You're watching the Larry Perkins car trying to pick up race leader Greg Murphy, who is looking like making it 2 in a row in the Tickford 500. But the big news is the weather. As you can see, extremely wet and slippery. The cars have been losing it everywhere, and also it has shortened the length of the race. You're looking at about 19 laps left because it's now going on time, not laps. We won't get the 161 laps out of this race.
Well, from 9 seconds behind the race leader, Perkins is now out to over 1 minute, around about 1 minute 11, 1 minute 12. And this is the reason why we have a look at the replay. Not only this one, that was the Hossack Ellery car going off into the sand trap, but Larry Perkins also went off with that car, with the Wins Commodore. And that, there he is, there's Larry in the background. He's driving right around the outside. It's the second time that Perkins has been in the sand trap. It's the third time that that car has gone off. Here it is from a different angle. That's Darren Hossack, who is just turning around, and he's gone right off the circuit into the sand trap. That's that same corner.
Tell you the ironic thing about this, Lee, is that they had to get that part of the track resurfaced because the drivers were complaining about the bumps under brakes. Now it's rained and it's proved one of the most treacherous parts of the track.
So Larry will be a bit disappointed. He comes into the pit. So we'll wait and see what goes on here. Perhaps some fresh tyres will be put on to the Castrol Commodore. We'll stay with it as Perkins is coming down pit lane. We'll try and put a time on this one for you. We'll see how quick Larry Perkins' team is.
Well, this isn't a scheduled stop. I'd say he's having real dramas with the grip. It looks like they've got a far heavier groove tyre they're getting ready to put on. Let's see what he takes off the car. Sure, the tyres that would have gone on. Yeah, see, that's a big block. Now they're going to... Is it a different tread pattern? Can't quite see there. But he's having tyre dramas for sure. Not enough grip. Sliding around like he's on an ice rink. And there's no way he can continue doing that. And stopwatch goes just under 20 seconds for that tyre change. So that'll drop him down to about 1.5 minutes plus slowing down. Almost 2 minutes behind our lead car.
Great pit stop there for the Castrol Perkins Commodore. And just to have a look at the visibility. The rain is just pouring down here, lap 140 at the Tickford 500. Larry Perkins back on track, a fresh set of tyres. And you can just see the water build up on the circuit.
Well, the interesting thing too, Lee, is if a race goes beyond 75% of its distance or its allotted time, they can red flag the race, they can stop it. Now, if the weather continues to come down really badly, clerk, of course, may well say enough is enough and hang out the red flag. So anything could happen between now and 4:45.
Well, you can see for yourself on your TV screen at home, this is probably the worst the conditions have been for the entire race. I don't even think they were this bad when the race started behind the safety car. Larry Perkins blasting up the back straight. Murphy in the HRT Commodore is still well in control. He's got a lead by over 1 minute over Larry Perkins. Alan Jones has now gone up into second position. Perkins has dropped back off naturally because of that pit stop. That now puts Stephen Richards up into third position. So could AJ be heading for his third second within the 500, or could he be going for his first win? Here he is, the Komatsu Pertec Ford.
He really has been on the charge. He's been ably backed by his young teammate Jason Bright. He's did a sensational job in his stint. And look at the time as he trips it up. Jones in hot pursuit of the Holding Racing Team Commodore, currently second. And as you can see by the fogging up in the lenses of our 10 Sport cameras, it is really getting very bad out there.
Well, going by our timing monitor, there has been a change with the Castrol Ford. Tony Longhurst is now behind the wheel, and they maintain their 10th position. Seaton is back in 11th. Now Brock has come up. At one stage he was back in 22nd position. Brock is now up into 12th and has reduced it from 10 laps down to 8 laps down. That's not much of a consolation because he's got no chance of winning this race, but it gives you an indication of how much impact Mark Scaife had on this race, because he just worked it really hard. We go on board now. Peter Brock. Oh, Stephen Richards.
Yeah, third position he was in before he lost it. He may well be there unless Perkins has picked him up.
That is that same corner coming out of Shell Corner. Let's hope Stephen can get the Valvoline Cummins Commodore back on the track without any hassle.
That must be an absolute nightmare through that turn. That has caught out the best drivers in Australia repeatedly. Even though they know the conditions, they know how dangerous that corner is, it's still catching them out. So there's something seriously wrong with the grip through that turn.
Well, throughout that whole sequence of camera shots, we didn't see any Larry Perkins, so we don't know whether Larry has been able to get past Stephen or not and jump up into that third spot. We'll have to wait and see, but there you go. Look at the visibility up the back straight. John Faulkner there, Peter Dillman going through.
Yeah, we may see a red flag out some stage soon if it continues like this, because that is getting very, very dangerous in terms of visibility. Our cameras are having trouble picking them up. Headlights ablaze. Trying to make it as safe as possible. Stephen Richards gets back into the race, but he has lost that position to Larry Perkins, who moves back into third. Hossack still hanging on in fifth. Boy, if they can get home with that Fred Gibson prepared Wins Commodore driven by Ellery and Hossack in fifth position, they'll be smiling, I'd say. That's a great lead up to Bathurst.
That's a very impressive first time out as a team. It's Hossack's first Tickford 500. Of course, Ellery has been here several times. He got fourth last year with Tony Longhurst in the Castrol Ford. There's your race leader, Greg Murphy. Well, those guys just be doing backflips. This could be the little bit of confidence booster that Craig Lowndes has needed in his year. Hasn't been pleasant times for him overseas. He's been based in Austria. He's been living away from home, obviously, racing in the European Formula 3000 Championship. It's been a tough year, but Craig says it's been a good learning year for him. Richards is into the pits.
Yep. Well, everybody had that ride across the grass. Plenty of dirt and muck everywhere. So they're changing tyres as well. Go to the monsoon wet. Let's try and get their way home if these wet conditions continue. Looks like they are. Certainly the Weather Bureau has told us these. Look at that. That is really atrocious. And the Weather Bureau said this is going to continue at least till the early evening.
Of course, the weather conditions giving our cameras a little bit of grief as well. That's the view coming down the newly named Brock Straight. Crompton is still inside that car. I just got a quick glimpse, and you can easily tell Neil's helmet. Yeah, that is still Crompton inside the Coca-Cola Commodore.
Yeah, sitting back in 7th position at the moment. 139 laps completed. Operating in the 1 minute 31 second bracket. This is about as quick as Murphy's going. Alan Jones is the fast man on the circuit now. Last time around a 129.50. So as we've seen in changeable conditions, whether it's wet or drying line, the Komatsu Ford has been fast all day. Wayne Gardner.
You're making him do the double stint, eh, Chief? I don't know.
I've had enough of this, he says.
Yeah. Hold it open, Neil. So, well, looking at our timing monitor, Jason Bargwanna is still in 9th position, and you might say, hang on a minute, Bargwanna went off the circuit. He's 4 laps behind the leader. The next closest car is Tony Longhurst in the Castrol Ford, who is 6 laps down. So that's about to change as time progresses, but your top 10 looks like this: Murphy, Jones, Perkins, Hossack, Faulkner, Stephen Richards, Neil Crompton, Steve Johnson, Jason Bargwanna and Tony Longhurst.
Jason Bargwanna, saw him go off in the sand trap at the end of Brock Straight on his first lap out after changing over. So fortunately the marshals were able to get that car back into the race. Wasn't too heavily damaged. When you looked at the accident from the outside, it certainly sounded pretty severe inside. And we cross back to our onboard camera, straight down at a face of concentration as he steers this car through.
I don't know if we should go on board with him anymore, because
every time we cut to that camera, he goes off. So, Jason Bargwanna struggling with that car. Let's have a listen to the Holden Special Vehicles backed Young Lions Commodore. Of concentration. Boy, oh boy. Wouldn't want to be out there in those conditions. Very, very slippery. It's like a skating rink out there at the moment. The rain continues to come down. We check out the Shell Helix race score. Mark Noske, Jason Bargwanna's teammate, watching on concern. Sees himself on the monitor. So he's watching on nervously. 9th position now for the Holden Special Vehicles backed Young Lions Commodore. They really have certainly throughout practice and qualifying impressed a lot of people. Certainly Bargwanna's pole position, I should say 5th position in the dry conditions on Saturday was quite an impressive start to this program.
Quite some extensive damage to the right rear there. More pictures, the Holden in-car camera. Jason Bargwanna finished 2nd in this year's Formula Holden Championship behind Jason Bright, the young guy who's done such a tremendous job in the Komatsu Falcon with Alan Jones. And Alan, I'm sure, will be very impressed with Jason's performance today. We go to the leader, car 15, the Murphy-Lowndes combination. Well, they had a lot of supporters last year as a team. They've got a lot of supporters this year as well. We just saw Alan Jones looming in the background, and if these guys get back-to-back Tickford 500 wins, the grandstand, the crowd here are just going to go crazy. Lap 145 is a replay of an earlier incident. It is car 49, and we just got some late mail, some late information that we were saying before that it was the combination of Terry Finnegan and Peter Fitzgerald. In fact, Greg Crick was able to make it here late this afternoon, and all 3 drivers are sharing that car. Now, to me, that looks like Peter Fitzgerald back in the car with that open face helmet on. So, in fact, that's a 3-driver team of Crick, Fitzgerald and Finnegan.
Well, here's our race leader, Greg Murphy, and he's just counting down these laps. It's a matter of survival now. We'll be listening to team manager Jeff Gretsch on the sophisticated two-way talkback system link they have between the pits, and he'll be saying, come on, Jeff, when are they going to call this a day? I want to bring this one home. Very, very difficult conditions.
Mark, I was making reference before that this is going to be a good confidence boost, a good shot in the arm for Craig Lowndes. Not only Craig, but for Greg, because he's had a pretty testing year in the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship, and to start the Enduro Series like this would be fantastic.
Well, I'm sure there'll be plenty of people out there saying that, gee, if only it hadn't happened to Brock's car, but Murphy deserved a bit of reliability after that disastrous Shell Series he's had. Let's look at the Shell Helix board for privateers. And, whoa, look at that, Darren Hossack, crunch, gone straight off where Jason Bargwanna went off.
Exactly the same position.
So, car after car after car. There's another one. This corner, this Shell corner has turned into a very, very dangerous part of the racetrack with that recent resurfacing just before the Tickford 500. Was working a treat in dry conditions, took all the bumps out of the approach, that very bumpy braking area. But boy, in the wet, it's turned into an absolute trap.
Here's the HSV replay. Darren Hossack in the Wins Commodore. He's looking out the side window. Where am I going now? He's going backwards off the main straight at a very fast speed, almost identical to Jason Bargwanna's incident. The sand trap slows him down a bit and just catches that rear left side onto the Armco, and he'll stay there for a little while until he can get towed out.
Yeah, said a race of survival. It really is turning to that. You just got to keep the car on the track without locking a brake, without running wide on a corner. It's just absolutely critical. Murphy continues to lead this race. A 1 minute 30.46. He's dropped about 10 seconds off his laps when they're on the drying line. Perkins just done a 1:27.3. But again, there's so much traffic around, it's very hard to monitor relative performances as they hit groups of traffic. 15 minutes to go, I believe. 15 minutes on our clock before the critical time of 4:45. We're riding with John Faulkner in the Fisher & Paykel Better Electrical Commodore. Top privateer in 1997. Moved up to level 1 status for the Enduros. And they'll be doing a great job with Win Percy, currently running in 4th position. Barry Sheen.
I've just spoken to Jeff Gretsch, and Jeff was talking to the Murph, and he's told the Murph to absolutely crawl into Shell Corner because so many people have gone off there, and you can imagine what it's like for Murphy. He comes by, doesn't see anybody gone off there, but we've been watching the television, and it's obviously pretty slippery.
Looks like a skating rink up there, I think, Baz.
But very slippery.
John Faulkner hard at work. There he is, he's talking to his team back in the pits. He's sitting in 4th position at the moment. Win Percy had a colossal stint earlier on. Really did well in the Better Electrical Commodore. Now, Faulkner's had a tremendous year, and we say that he finished top privateer, and naturally people assume that he's just a newcomer on the scene. In fact, he's been around for quite a long time. We'll tell you about that more later on. Murphy still leads the way from Jones. Perkins is going very well. Hossack will know he may not be in fourth for much longer if he stays in that sandpit. And John Faulkner sitting in fifth position. We go back 6 through 10. It's Stephen Richards. Then we go back through the rest of the field. More action on the other side of this break right here on Network 10.
Welcome back to a race of attrition, the Tickford 500. You're watching a great battle for second between Jones and Perkins, separated by a couple of backmarkers. They're also trying to unlap themselves against race leader Greg Murphy, who was 1 lap ahead of them. Perkins has threaded through. He's still ahead of the Komatsu Falcon, the blue Vertec car you see there. And here's how Perkins did it just a few moments ago, coming down the straight. Big overtaking move. Jones, in fact, did try to take him back when they came to that very slippery left-hander at the end of the main straight, but of course sanity prevailed because everyone's been coming off there. But that is how Larry Perkins regained second place, and reminding you that this is now a race of time, not laps. It's due to finish in about 10 minutes, not 11 laps.
Perkins has been able to unlap himself. He is now on the lead lap. There's Greg Murphy. There's Alan Jones. Alan Jones needs to get past Greg Murphy. The car directly in front of him if he wants to unlap himself and get on the lead lap like Perkins is. Perkins is just streaking away. He is really on fire at the moment. Perkins, the quickest car, or the second quickest car on the track. He's going very well.
Yeah, it was a stunning move when you consider the track conditions. Great shot from our Whitman's chocolate light ship, giving us these tremendous aerial views of Sandown.